Good morning, world. Welcome to another episode of Xendependently Minded. If you are a new or returning listener, I truly hope you enjoyed this episode. Before we get into the episode, here's a brief disclaimer. Enjoy. The views and opinions expressed by past, present, and future guests of Xendependently Minded have not been expressed by me, and they may not even be shared by me. The views and opinions that I express are, of course, satirical. If you're confused, then try this thought experiment to help you understand. If you like what I said, or say, and you agree, then you can tell yourself that it is my real opinion, and it's not satirical. If you don't agree with what I say, and you're disgusted and repulsed by it, then obviously I'm just being satirical. Obviously, these aren't my real opinions, because this is clearly a character, and nobody would actually have these opinions, would they? Anyway, enjoy the episode. How's it going, guys and gals? It's your boy, Asmongold here, back at it with another episode of Xendependently Minded. Hope you guys are doing well. Good amount has happened since we last spoke, since I last talked to you and screamed into the void, and gave my unprovoked, unsolicited opinions. We have a lot to talk about, and let's just get into it. But first and foremost, I want to let you guys know this will be the last episode for a while. I'm going to be going on a bounty hunting trip where I go try to take out a very sought-after trophy pig in South America. So I'm not going to be here for a while. You'll have to pay attention to the news, critically think, and use your empathy hat while I'm gone. And you'll have to do it without me. Good luck to you guys. First thing I wanted to talk about, the United States and China has struck a 30-day tariff deal with China. This not only benefits the United States, but it also benefits China. And this is overall a good step in the right direction. Talked about it before. The tariffs, the plan that Trump had tried his first time around as president, which resulted in some success. It also has resulted in some success now. We're just now starting to see the fruits of the tariff plan blossom. It's going to be a long run, though, and unfortunately, if someone from the Trump camp does not become president in 2028, this is probably going to be undone. This happens every time. It happened from 2016 to 2020. Trump had corporate tax cuts. He had push tariffs that brought manufacturing jobs back to the United States. We started making things for 3 years, and then Biden comes back in, lifts some of these tariffs, increases the corporate tax rate, we lose these jobs, manufacturing goes back overseas. It's just been a tug-of-war like this for a long time, and this will be no different if someone from the Trump team, and I'm not saying Republican, because 99% of Republicans are valueless, moralist scumbags that would love nothing more than to continue to send jobs overseas, and then whatever manufacturing jobs we have here, have them replaced by AI. But this is a good start. We're starting to see the market recollect itself from the tariff assault on the market, which lasted a good month and a half. A lot of people freaked out. I gave some encouraging words, I believe, and I hope that they were helpful to some people, because I sure needed them. I was a little taken aback by the response by the market, but I kind of knew that it was coming. There was going to be some short-term pain for long-term gains. And the most important stuff that's coming from these tariffs is that multiple companies have announced plans and have already began manufacturing in the United States, bringing manufacturing jobs back to the United States, because the tariffs on China, the tariffs on India, the tariffs on Mexico, the tariffs on all these countries where these American companies claim, oh, well, it's made in America, this is an American company, but it's not actually made in America. It's put together, it's built, it's mined, it's designed outside of the United States. These countries, these tariffs were too much for these companies, and they came back. And we need to keep them here. They need to stay. Otherwise, one day China will overtake us as far as the size of their economy and their GDP. So this is good news. I hope it continues to go in this positive direction, and we'll see what happens. But that NVIDIA stock finally recovered, finally came back up. I could have sold it all and made a profit on it, but I chose to wait because the earnings call, I think, is in 3 or 4 days, 28th or 29th of May. So all signs are pointing to they're going to announce another huge increase in profit over the last year, and that's going to cause a jump in the stock price. And yeah, so if you don't already have NVIDIA, still a chance to get in early. It's still going to continue to rise. It's still the future, especially with deals being made with different companies and different countries that are investing billions of dollars into the company because they know that they're the future. AI is the future, data centers are the future, and NVIDIA is here to stay. Next thing I wanted to talk about, sad bit of news if you're not a scumbag, piece of trash, and you're mentally ill and schizophrenic and retarded and you suck. Joe Biden, former president of the United States, has stage 4 prostate cancer. Not just stage 4 prostate cancer, an aggressive form of stage 4 prostate cancer that leaves him probably pretty low chance of surviving this cancer, which is sad. My heart goes out to him and his family. Cancer is not fun. Cancer knows no boundaries, and it's taken a lot of people that I know. It's taken a lot of people I love. It's affected a lot of people that I love, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And the weird thing is people acting like it's impossible to know if you have stage 4 cancer, which, again, obviously, clearly, I have a podcast that barely anybody listens to. I'm not a doctor. I'll put that out there for anybody who didn't know. And I'm also not going to school to be a doctor. So this is not my space. But it is possible to have stage 4 cancer, certain types of cancer, in late stages without knowing it. I know lots of people. I know a few people who had late stage cancer, didn't know, was diagnosed, died within a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple years. It's possible. The likelihood of the president of the United States getting by without knowing he had stage 4 prostate cancer with all the tests, all the medication, all the medical experts that are around him, I do find that to be a bit suspicious, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that a person had stage 4 prostate cancer and didn't know until now. Until there was a sign that caused the suspicion, and they were tested, and turns out he has it. My worry has always been, it was from 2020 to 2024, still is, who was running the country during his obvious decline, because it wasn't just stage 4 prostate cancer that he's had, or maybe it was stage 3 during his presidency. He also clearly had Alzheimer's or early onset dementia, because he would shake hands with people that weren't there, he would stutter to no end, and now there are reports coming out, a bunch of insiders who actually were running defense for him, saying things like, he's sharper than people half his age, he's this and that, he's the sharpest, he's the smartest he's ever been. They knew, not only did they know that he was declining, they actively pushed him and prevented him from having things like wheelchairs, because they thought, well, the American public can't handle this, they're going to freak out, it's a show of weakness, which it is really, when the leaders of the world, when you're trying to handle leaders of the world with fervor, with strength, with resilience, and you're sitting in a wheelchair, it can hurt. When leaders of countries that are our enemy, which there are plenty, when they see the president of the United States is in a wheelchair, he's wheelchair bound, that can hurt. Also, I don't think the American public could handle it. They, you see how quickly they jump onto anybody for doing anything. If someone looks slightly tired, they dunk on him. If you stutter, dunk on you. If you get a fact wrong, they dunk on you. If you drink water, Hitler also drank water, things like that. And it's been pretty gross to see the reaction from people, but it just goes to show, like I've said many times, like one of the main aspects of my first book that has not been published yet is that we need to work on our critical thinking skills. We need to be able to independently think. And we also need to work on our empathy skills. And then we won't have people cheering on somebody getting prostate cancer and hopefully dying. So anyway, that's that. Next thing I wanted to talk about is the big, beautiful spending bill has been passed through House of Representatives, needs to be worked on and passed through the Senate to actually be signed into law. It has some good stuff in it, like tax cuts, trade school grants, SNAP benefits going to the states administratively, more border security. And then there's bad things, like the main one, that it is going to add to our debt which has spiraled out of control. It's spiraled out of control since the second I was born, and it's continued to get worse and worse and worse, and we're on track to have $30 trillion in debt by I don't know when. Sooner rather than later. The thing that I'm worried about this is when there's a bill that is agreed upon by lots of Republicans and Democrats alike, it really makes me wonder what is in it. And what is in it that benefits both of these pigs, both of these same sides of the same coin, whatever the saying is. It really makes me wonder what's inside of it. One of the things that's inside of it that I'm sure has establishment bugs, establishment leeches chomping at the bit is the increased military budget. While I applaud and I support Donald Trump's pursuance of peace, you can see it with the Russia-Ukraine war. You can see it with the Israel-Palestine war. You can see it with Yemen, Syria. I'm going to talk about Syria in a little bit. When you can see it with India, Pakistan. Trump does not want war. He doesn't like war. He's seen the horrors of war. Maybe not firsthand, but he understands how horrible war is. He has been actively pursuing peace. And he can't do it alone, unfortunately. He cannot do it alone because he does not want war with Iran, but it seems like the entire United States wants war with Iran. Israel wants war with Iran. Iran probably wants war with Iran. Trump has had to cut off people from his campaign, from his circle, from his cabinet, because they're having secret talks with Benjamin Netanyahu about war with Iran. Now, I'm not saying that they should have nuclear weapons. I'm not saying that someone shouldn't blow up their nuclear sites, their nuclear factories. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that this increase in military budget is most likely going to just continue to feed the machine of war. And I know it's always sneakily referred to as the defense budget. And yeah, we are not actively bombing as many countries as we were the previous administration, the previous 50 administrations almost. But that's what I don't like about this. Trump seemingly cannot fight the military-industrial complex himself. It took a leak, a fake leak, kind of, an accidental leak of plans, not details, not important details, but plans to bomb Yemeni pirates to kind of halt these operations. And he's had to purge some people from his cabinet because they want to go to war with Iran so bad. I don't want to go to war with Iran. I don't want Iranians to get killed. The problem is, pursuing peace talks is difficult when you have three parties involved and two of them want to go to war and one of them doesn't. The good thing is, though, the party that doesn't want to go to war is the most powerful country in the world, so we can figure it out. The Iranian regime is hard to deal with because the Iranian regime is psychopathic. They're evil. They're disgusting. They're despicable. They hate their own people. And we're starting to see little bits of rebellion within the Iranian people. You're seeing videos of young girls, brave young girls, taking their freedom veils off, tossing them aside, dancing in public, which is illegal and forbidden in this extreme version of Islam that Iran has. Those women are most likely have been disappeared already, but I applaud them for their bravery, for standing up to this disgusting regime. So diplomacy will always be the way that I go, the way that I cheer for and that I hope gets sought after first. But apparently, U.S. intelligence has already warned that Israel is planning and will bomb Iran's nuclear facilities soon. So I'm hoping if this happens, Iran doesn't retaliate, which they will. And I'm hoping that innocent civilians are not killed, which they will. That all being said, I'm really disgusted with the fact that every single administration across the entire world, it seems, has decided to forgive and forget the horrors and atrocities committed in Syria. The leader of Syria, who I've talked about, is an evil, despicable, disgusting man who will have his own special seat next to the devil in hell when he dies, when someone eventually kills him, because it's Syria. There's going to be people who want revenge. He didn't take over democratically. They're not going to have democratic elections. They took over by force, started massacring and genociding religious minorities, which is why the former leader, Bashar al-Assad, had to flee to Russia, the only place that won't kill him for some reason. Trump is included in this. The United States has met with this guy. I don't know if he came to the White House, but they met somewhere and shook hands, and now we're lifting sanctions on Syria. So, on one hand, I can understand that this is another step towards peace. Peace is not always pretty. Peace means you have to make peace, literally, with parties that you don't agree with, that you don't like. But the important thing is Trump is doing this because he truly understands, and he gave a really great speech that I recommend people listen to. He did a speech recently where he talked about different cultures across the world can coexist. They can exist without harming each other, without trying to control and dictate the lives of one another. And it's true. It was a great speech. He really, really, truly believes in peace. I just wish there was a better way to go about it than shaking hands and smiling with this guy who used to have $1 million bounty on his head set by the United States government because of his role in 9/11, because of his role as the leader of an offshoot of Al-Qaeda. So, I forget his name. It's not worth mentioning. But I don't like this guy. I really don't. Next thing I wanted to talk about, Ukraine and Russia will soon be exchanging the most prisoners in the biggest prisoner swap since the beginning of this war, I believe. This is great news. This is hopefully a step further, closer to peace, to overall lasting peace in this region. Unfortunately, there has also overnight been a massive drone attack launched on Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine. Let us not forget that this war could have ended a couple months in, but Boris Johnson of the UK and Janet Yellen of the United States and a few other scumbags decided to stall and prevent peace terms from being signed, which would have allowed Ukraine to keep a lot of territory that it has since lost in the war. Because when you're losing, of course you're going to call for a ceasefire. That's why Russia said no so many times. And a lot of people have said, well, that just means that Putin doesn't want peace. No, that means he knows that he's ahead. Every single NATO country has talked about mobilizing troops and sending them to defend and peacekeep in Ukraine. He knows that a 30-day, a 10-day, 5-day ceasefire will just allow regrouping of NATO troops and would only hurt Russia. That's stupid. And this could be the last and final push to gain as much territory as possible before going to the table, because when you go to the table and you have more to bargain with, you'll end up coming out more victorious than your opponent. So that's unfortunate. I know that the Ukrainian and Russian prisoners that are being returned will be happy. I hope to continue to see this type of progress. I know Trump saying that he would end this war in a day was not serious. It wasn't going to happen. But better late than never if we can get an end to this war. And then we can move on to the other areas of the world that need our peacekeeping help, including Israel and Palestine. which is the last bit I wanted to talk about. Sadly, there was an attack on the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. It's very heartbreaking. My heart goes out to the families affected, specifically the families of Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram. The psychopath that attacked and killed those two shouted, "Free, free Palestine," a familiar war cry for a lot of people who mask their anti-Semitism, their disgust and their hatred of Jews in a war cry similar to Allah Akbar. A lot of people say, well, Allah Akbar just means God is great or whatever. Yeah, but why does every single terrorist, the last 5,000 terrorist attacks, why do they scream that out? My God doesn't want me to stab 12-year-old German boys like has happened 3 times this week. 3 separate times in the past week. There have been extremist Islamic knife attacks. In Hamburg, there was a train that just got filled with blood from a psycho, I want to say it was a Syrian or Iranian, an extremist, who's just started stabbing people, killed a few people. There was a 11 or 12-year-old German boy who was stabbed to death by an Iranian boy, who was also equally as young. So, if I sound like I'm a little disgusted, sound like I'm a little angry, it's because I am. The 2 that were killed in this attack on the embassy in the United States were staunchly against the overwhelming Israeli assault in Gaza, and they were actively doing work to help Palestinians. They actually were leaving an event that was aimed at helping and providing aid for Palestinians. And then this schizophrenic psychopath, who was most likely propagandized by disgusting extremists who don't understand, or they do, and it's worse, they do understand the power of vocabulary, the power of words, the power of the tongue. And there are rumors that he was most likely a big fan of my least favorite person in the world. One of my least favorite people in the world, if not my least favorite. There's a Turkish spoiled brat named Hasan Piker. I've talked about him before. I really hate talking about him because he really sucks. He's the nephew of Cenk Uygur, the founder of the Young Turks, who is also a grifter scumbag. So Hasan Piker, he's just a effeminate, piece of trash, valueless, moralless scumbag streamer. He was born in Turkey to some uber wealthy Turkish people, came to the United States, and he now just does streaming. He's like the biggest political streamer in the world. He's time and time again said horrible things about Jewish people, about the United States. He said the United States deserved 9/11. He said Dan Crenshaw, the representative, who I'm not even a fan of, he got the reason his eye is he has a patch over his eye was because he was raped by a Islamic terrorist through the eye. That's what he said. He's repeatedly called for violence against Jews, violence against Americans, violence against the United States military. He had on a Houthi terrorist on his stream, and then he talked about how he was basically like Anne Frank. He's denied much of the atrocities committed by Hamas, and he gets hundreds of thousands of viewers, millions of dollars in donations, sponsorship deals up the wazoo, and he never gets banned off Twitch because the CEO of Twitch also seems to hate Jews and hate the United States and just be a creepy scumbag who is actively like stalking the hot tub streamers and all these losers that stream on Twitch. Who is watching these people? I can't think of anything. I would rather put on the local news in the middle of rural Alabama. I bet you that'd be more valuable than listening to a Hasan Piker stream. This guy sucks. He's a piece of trash. He's a piece of trash. He always has been. I'm not saying he should be deplatformed. I'm not saying that at all. But it'd be a shame if someone got through his massive security line, his massive group of security, because he can't defend himself because he paints his nails. He's a scumbag. He's a weirdo. He's not a weirdo because he paints his nails. You just should watch 10 seconds of any clip if you haven't already seen him. And you just think, how is this guy making a living in Los Angeles, the United States, as a champagne socialist, pretending to be a socialist, pretending to be a populist, pretending to care, but only care about one side of the aisle, denying the raping and the assaulting of Israelis on October 7th, cheering on and inviting terrorists on his stream. He's embroiled in another drama with an Israeli, with a Jewish YouTuber, for supporting CPS getting called on this person, for doing tier lists of Arabs, and then the bottom of the tier list is Jews that they can't say some stupid word. I don't remember. I mean, this guy, he's the worst. He really is. And I've hated him forever. I've actively hoped for his downfall because he's a bad person. Champagne socialist, like I said. He has a very expensive car, very expensive house, and he claims to be a socialist, claims to be a man of the people when he comes from a very wealthy Turkish family. And his uncle is no better. Cenk Uygur is a grifter, scumbag, also a valueless, moralist scumbag. The only thing that good that he's ever done is kiss the ring for 5 seconds with Donald Trump. Hassan Piker apparently was one of the favorite streamers, one of the favorite propagandists of this piece of trash that killed these two innocent Israelis. And I just want to remind people, these things can easily be combated, not with physical violence, not with discrimination, not with infringements of rights. I'm not saying Hassan Piker should be kicked off of any platform. He should continue to say the horrible things he says. People will continue to react in kind because every video he posts on YouTube gets more dislikes than likes. The guy can't go out in public without security. He's hated. He's not respected. But unfortunately, he has a big following because there's a lot of brain-dead people who lack the ability to critically think, and they lack empathy skills. Because again, you don't have the ability to critically think and have empathy and then go out and kill people. Especially people who, if you just did a second of research into anything, the event that these people are at, who these people are, if you even cared, you would know that these people are not the enemy. This is the problem with mixing and confusing and clouding a government's actions and the citizens' responsibility. Just because you're a member of a country and the country does something bad does not mean you deserve anything bad to happen to you. This is terrorist, inbred extremist thinking that doesn't belong on this planet. It should be wiped off the face of the earth. This is the thinking of Osama bin Laden. This is the thinking of a lot of terrible, bloodthirsty people. Just because these people are Israeli, and you don't like the Israeli response to October 7th, you don't like the overreaction, as some people say, doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just because you happen to be Israeli. Just because you happen to be an Israeli American. The same goes for Palestinians. The same goes for Chinese, for Russians, Ukrainians, Iranians, Syrians. None of these people deserve to have pain or death inflicted on them and their family just because their government is terrible. And that standard applies to everybody. This extremist chud will rot in hell right next to the leader of Syria, al-Jilani, or whatever his name is, Slim Jim Jilani. And, extremist, champagne socialist, grifter, scumbags like Hassan Piker will also get what's coming to them. Karma karma will work its way. I'm not making any threats. I'm not advocating violence towards anybody. Hassan Piker sucks. He really sucks. He's a terrible person. And he should watch what he says. Maybe have a little responsibility on what you say. I'm not sitting here and saying that you're responsible for everybody in your audience. This guy who committed this attack, he did this on his own volition. It's nobody's fault but his. But maybe this will teach Hassan Piker to watch what he says, think about it a little more carefully. I'll cut him a little slack, when you're emotional, as people get with certain issues. You can say things that you don't mean. And when you're live streaming, that's it. It's already put out into the world and you cannot reverse that, no matter how hard you try. So I will give him some slack on that. But when given the chance to walk back things, when given the chance to explain things, rationalize things, fix arguments or clarify things, he always doubles down. So this guy gets no sympathy from me. I hope his career gets ruined. I hope it gets flushed down the toilet. I hope it gets done legally. I hope it gets done without infringing rights. I know he was complaining recently that when he traveled abroad and then he came back to the United States, he was searched and interrogated by Homeland Security or something. Yeah, that's what happens when you sympathize with terrorists, when you say things like the United States deserved 9/11, when you advocate for the killing and violence against Republican senators, and when you cheer on deaths of Americans, and when you are mysteriously getting funding from terrorist groups, probably getting funding from the same guys who are funding Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah. So anyway, my heart goes out to the family members and the families of these two Israelis who were killed. And of course it goes out to all the people affected by this war. The response has been so overwhelming by Israel that the United Kingdom has announced they are halting free trade with Israel, and they are activating sanctions against them. And the European Union is now looking into this, specifically their involvement in blocking aid that is going into Gaza. So things need to change. Things are going to change. And I don't mean things need to change dramatically, but this war needs to end. This war needs to end, whether it's temporary or permanent. Most likely will be temporary. But things need to change. They can't continue to go in this direction. There is not a clear outcome. There is not a clear goal stated by Israel, by Netanyahu and the Israeli war cabinet. They don't all get along. Netanyahu doesn't get along with everybody in his group. A lot of people have been kicked out, fired, they've resigned. So it's a sticky situation, and I hope we get a resolution to it soon. That's going to do it for this episode of Xendependently Minded. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're staying hydrated. Hope you're staying caffeinated. It's starting to get warm out there, so make sure you drink water. And this is the perfect time to head over to our merch shop, which is open 24/7, 365. Get yourself a nice breathable trucker hat. Get yourself a water bottle. Get yourself a coffee mug. Get yourself some stickers, or a hoodie, or a t-shirt. We might have socks there. I'll have to check. I think there's coasters. If you want to make some nice ice cold drinks and you want to put on your table without damaging it, head over to our merch shop. Get yourself some good merch. 100% of the proceeds gets donated to the Child Mind Institute, a nonprofit organization aimed at helping families that have children that suffer from mental illness. I'm not sure if I have a recommendation this week for you guys, but I'll work on that for next time. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Catch you on the next one. As always, stay safe, stay away from those crazies out there. Thank you.